Hi, Alex. How you doing? I've got your work up here, and let's go and take a look. So right now, the one thing I'm seeing here is this. Let me see something here. Just want to reduce the size of here a little bit. Now, I don't think that we're at the correct dimensions. Okay, this is 15 inches by 20 inches, 5 by 5 compositions in a 1-inch gutter between all the images. That looks like it's good. This distance here is greater than this distance here. So in order to learn how to set this up correctly, go to the course announcements, which the course announcements have really great resources in them this week. You definitely don't want to miss this week's announcement, or any announcements for that reason. I mean, students who look at the announcements score do actually much, much better in grading than students that don't. That's a fact. I've ran some statistics, and time again, students who are looking at the videos and spending time in the announcements are doing much better than students who don't review the announcements. But anyways, in our Welcome to Week 3, down at the bottom, there's how to set up the file for assignment 3. That shows you exactly blow by blow how to set the file up correctly. I recommend you take a look at that for your final submission. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the interior compositions. Right now, there's not much margin in between your page edge and where your type starts, and that indicates to me that you have set the grid to the external the field, the size of the document, and not setting up an interior margin. Let me show you the difference. So basically, this is an interior margin. You want to set one up to provide ample padding between the page edge and where the typography begins. Otherwise, your typography rides right up to the edge of the page, like we see here. That's very uncomfortable. And something that would not be considered to be a best practice. You always want to set up some margins for some comfort padding in your compositions. Now, what you would do in this case is you would go ahead, set up your interior margin, and then lay your grid lines in the interior margin as opposed to laying on the whole page. Let me show you what it ends up looking like. This is set to margin, right? Here's your margins, and then here's your grid. You notice each is equal in there. And I'm not saying a 4x4 grid is the way to go. This is just using for an example. So you can see that this grid is set to the interior margin, and I recommend that you do the same thing to provide ample padding between where the type starts and the edge of the page. Now, in the first composition, we're looking for no contrasts in size or weight, but hierarchy based on grouping. And we don't have any hierarchy because there's no grouping. What you want to do here is set off the 1973 Chevy Camaro Z28. Set that off. Increase the space between this and then the rest of these. So take this whole from here down and just move it down, increase that space, and that will establish hierarchy by grouping, establishing 1973 Chevy Camaro Z28 as first position in hierarchy. Okay, this second composition is asking for one new size and one new weight. And you've got those combined here. You've added up a new size and a new weight here. So this is excellent. My only recommendation here would be to follow your grid lines, get that padding in there, and then increase the space between the headline and the rest of these 5 descriptions here. Okay, third, design multiple contrasts in weight and scale. And you got it. Yeah, we've got multiple contrasts. Here's new weight and here's new scale with new weight. So that's good. I'm going to give you some tips on alignment, though this is pretty darn good right here. I think right now the word transmission doesn't, I would move this up a little bit so that right now transmission, the viewer doesn't know if transmission is associated with this text or with this text, and then because the space between here and here is equal, reduce the space here to connect transmission with 4-speed, and then increase that space to indicate that that's something different. Okay, and then the fourth is problematic because the car is in color and it doesn't bleed. So don't forget, in the project specifications, it indicates that black and white only in your design, and then the car needs to bleed in 2 areas, bleed off the page in at least 2 places. So you want to reflect that in your final submission. And okay, so I think it's a great start. It really is, but I think you have a good understanding of hierarchy, but I think your understanding of grid use is developing. So again, I really highly recommend you spend some time in that Welcome to Week 3 announcement. Now, in addition to that, before you apply my recommendations here for your final submission Sunday, I also want you to spend some time on page 101 of the textbook. Okay, page 101 is the textbook. Page 101 shows 9 examples displaying this exactly. It's a different assignment, a little bit different. It's not based on muscle cars, but it's outstanding. It's a great lesson in establishing hierarchy based on differences of scale and weight. definitely spend some time on page 101 of the textbook before you resubmit. All right, great start. Hey, man, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'll be glad to make any necessary clarifications. All right, thank you very much.